Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport. My name is Dan Davis, and I'll bring you all the action live here tonight here at SimPlay Motorsport for the penultimate round of the season. And what a final couple races we have for you here at SimPlay Motorsport here at Valencia for the, like I said, the penultimate round of the season. And it is down to only a handful of points and down to a handful of drivers to win not only the Drivers' Championship, but also the Team's Championship. But obviously we will get into all of that very shortly. And for some reason I'm not able to hear my own headset. That's probably why, because I haven't got the correct audio settings on. So hopefully I should be able to hear everyone now. Right, hang on 2 seconds. Ah, I think I know why now. So hopefully you all should be able to hear me loud and clear now, with not such a big echo now. For some reason, like I said, my headset is not wanting to connect, so that's genius. But either way, hopefully, just let me guys know in the chat if that echo has now gone. Hopefully it should have, because I think I had my microphone set on the controller, so it should be all good. Echo effect, sweet. Thank you guys for that. As like I said, we get on to the final rounds of the season. I said hopefully I should be able to you guys in a moment. For some reason my PC is not wanting to play ball today, which is fantastic. But either way, we look forward to an exciting night's worth of racing. Just to confirm, can you guys hear the cars as well? You should be able to hear everything, but yeah, hopefully you should be able to hear everything all loud and clear. Not sure what's going on with the settings as well, but hopefully you should be able to hear car noises. You should be able to hear myself all loud and clear. Actually, where's my phone? So guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. Okay, yeah, but it's very quiet. Hello, Snuffles Racing. First time watching. Nice to see you in the chat, my friend. And I hope you're going to look forward to some great action here tonight. So just make a few adjustments and changes, but hopefully. Hopefully that would have sorted all of that out. Again, for some bizarre reason, my headphones is not wanting to actually pick up any of the noises, so that's brilliant. But hey, we go with it. And now my stream looks like it's buffeting, and just you wanted things to run smoothly, it never does. Either way. Right, we got noises, we got me talking, that's all we pretty much need. Right, so regarding the championship standings, I did have the standings, they now vanished because I've closed all of my windows. First things first, guys, in the chat, do we like the Valencia circuit? That's the question that is out there. Do we like this circuit? It's a very tricky circuit nonetheless. A bike circuit with a lot of flowing corners. And which kind of car are we looking to be the strongest? McDonald's headset, question mark? No. It's on charge. Maybe that's stopping it? I don't know. You leave things for a day and you think everything's going to run nice and smoothly, but it never does. So, you know. Either way, do we like the Valencia circuit? That is the question, guys. Let's hear from you in the chat. Do we like this circuit? Patrick Ledger in the chat, racing in the pros, doing it for the ASA. Driver team sadly won't make the rest of the season. He says he loves this circuit, which is great to hear. Drivers' Championship looks like this. It's Langley who leads the way in the Championship, and it's a close fight between him and this man, Vitas, in the Championship. 43 points separated them. Still mathematically in this fight is Sam Greaves in third, Fandango in fourth, and Wolski in fifth. But with 266 points still up for grabs, and pretty much most of them disappearing tonight, it's going to be very, very unlikely that they will stay in the championship hunt going to the finale at Donington Park in a week's time. Let's have another driver on the screen. Let's have Gabino. Regarding the rest of the championship, it's Onsworth sat in P6, Flores P7, Varga in P8, P9 is Aberdeen, P10 is Craig, Gabino in 11th, 12th is Saunders, 13th is Argent, 14th is S. Williams with Lee in 15th, Taylor 16th, Smith in 17th, 18th is Ritchie, 19th is Archer, Johnson 20th, Waste 21st, Betterson 22nd, Leach 23rd, Atherton 24th, De Block in 25th, Bell 26th, KLF 27th, Tucker in 28th, Wheel 29th, Storrock 30th, P. Williams in 31st, Bosch in 32nd, Best in 33rd, Goodwill 34th, Marsden 35th, the Jackal 36th, and then Andrews rounding off the grid. Regarding the team's championship, it is 4Q Motorsport leading away, the two Lexuses, and they look to win the title. They can win it tonight if it all goes to plan, as they got a gap of 222 points over No Gas, No Glory. Cloud9 are still mathematically in the fight as well, but again, both of those guys are at risk of losing the title here tonight, so they've got to try everything they possibly can to try and stay in that championship fight. SimPlay Racing sat in P4 and now out of the championship, with Team Autosport in 5th, Greasy Bandits in 6th, Team Murloc P7, Soldor in P8, Quantum in P9, NLR Racing in P10, 2Cs Racing in 11th, 12th is a Rapid Rabbits GT, 13th is Black and Blue Racing, OWR Racing in 14th, Lexis Industries in 15th, Team GBR in 16th, Team BSR in 17th, and in 18th is OGR. So one title could be won tonight, but I'm pretty sure the driver's title is going to go to the very, very end here at Donington Park, and it is definitely going to be an epic finale for the Pro-Ams. Let's have a refresh of the stream on my end so I can make sure everything's running nice and smooth. Let's see you guys in the chat. Gary Clarble, yes, but only because I won around here in the Porsches. Good evening to Benny Varga. How is Team Motorsport looking? Sadly, we've only got the one driver in here tonight, Ledger, which is Williams, and he's currently P4 at the minute, looking like he's found some decent pace in the Lamborghini by the looks of things. And Varga, yesterday evening was the first time I drove this track, but it's now one of my all-time favourites, says Varga in the chat, so he seems to like it. Meanwhile, Vitas goes top of the session with a 31.6, and Langley still half a second off. That's really going to be where your championship fight is going to be, with Varga sat in P3, you've got Williams P4, Craig P5, Wolski P6, Leach P7, Waste P8, Argent P9, and Gabino rounds off the top 10. For me, it looks like it's going to be a kind of a Porsche circuit. It should really suit the Porsche, with a lot of traction zones and medium speed corners, but as you can see, there's multiple different cars. Oh, as we see Gary Leach having a moment in the Porsche. But you can see multiple different manufacturers at the moment in the top of that session. We've got a McLaren, a Ferrari, a BMW, and a Lamborghini. 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. And then we've got another McLaren, followed by BMW, Porsche, McLaren, BMW, and Lamborghini. The Lexuses at the minute doesn't seem to be showing their true pace. They might be holding back a little bit on that one. But we will see how things go tonight. Valencia needs to be back next season in my opinion, says Ledger. Obviously, like I said, a true fan of the circuit. But hey, if you're a Patreon and you are part of the Patreon system, the Patreons get to choose who votes next season on what comes on the calendar. It's not down to the admin, it's down to the Patreons, and that will be going out to them very soon as well. So get yourself signed up to the Patreon, £3 a month. Obviously, loads of other perks that come with it, which is reserve your race number, so no one can ever use that number. So for example, I use the number 16, and if I ended up doing that, then it would be it would end up being my race number and no one else would be able to use it. You would also get all your social media automatically uploaded as well to the SimPlay Racing Instagram and Facebook page and all that lot. And also you get priority sign-ups as well, so when sign-ups come up, including fun events, no matter what event it is, you will get the priority, you will get the first option of full drives, and if it's fun events or endurance events, obviously again, you will get the priority with that as well. Your streams will automatically be uploaded into the Discord as well, so you won't miss any of the action here at SimPlay Motorsport. So remember guys, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell to be notified. As Matt Wright in the chat, there's no such thing as a Porsche circuit, and Tip says in the chat, Valencia, one of my favourite tracks. For me, I'm not a fan of the circuit. I like the idea of the circuit. I think it's nice looking, it's very flowing, if you're able to flow with it, which I can't flow around this circuit. I tend to struggle around here, and it tends to be a circuit that my Lamborghini doesn't like either. So I take it with a pinch of salt. No such thing as a Porsche circuit. Well, I'm trying to think where the Porsche... The Kyalami is a Porsche circuit, I know that. Kyalami with the Porsche seems to be mighty around there. So as we're now coming to the end of the session, we've got the block in here. We've also got he's still on a lap, as everyone else is coming to an end. Argent's on a lap as well. So we've got the block, Argent, and Wolski still out on circuit as well. So we'll see how this all pans out. Is the link in or slash on the YouTube channel for what, the Patreon? No, I believe it's in the Discord. I'm not sure if it is actually. Either way, Ledger, if you want to contact Matthew Duffin, he will be able to help you out with the Patreon. So if you contact him, he will sort you out with that one. But here's a quick look of our fantastic Patreons, and a massive thank you to all of that. Benny, Ben Rook, Rob Ramsell, Graham Sutcliffe, Luke Saunders, Andrew Taylor, Clouden, Matt Wright, Stephen Millington, Marco Ritchie, D. Sny, Yoshi, Thomas Canardle, Stardog, and Ian Best. Those are our fantastic Patreons, and a massive thank you to them for always sticking by and helping out the channel. So we now come to the end of practice, and it is a McLaren at the top of the session. It is Vitus. And if you are new to SimPlay Motorsport, here is how it works for the GT3s. Obviously last night we had the Who Darren Cup, and that was a 3-minute sprint race, British Touring Car style. Tonight for the Pro-Ams, the classes are separate, have been separated into 4 separate classes. 2 overall classes, so Pro and Pro-Am, and then 2 within them. So in Pro-Am, we have our bronze drivers, which are in the red boxes. They will start to the back of the pack. And then you have our silver drivers, which are obviously in grey, will start to the front of the pack. Those drivers will then be put into a reverse grid order. Once they're in the reverse grid order of the championship standings, the silvers will stay to the front and the bronze will go to the back. And it gives the kind of guys in the lower end of the championship an opportunity to win races, steal points away, and try and build themselves back into the championship fight. Also, another thing to mention this week as well, drop scores have now ended. So from Valencia onwards, including Donington, drop scores will not take into account. So if this is their worst round, bad luck. That's not going to affect at all the drop scores. So that's it. They really have to deliver right to the very end of this championship. Now, so we go into the sprint race, a 15-minute sprint race, where it is flat out from lights to flag. They do have to make 1 mandatory pit stop, which is adding 1 litre of fuel. Obviously, the way ACC works, we cannot separate the feature and the sprint, so we have to have 2 pit windows in both sessions. If we took one out, the other one would lose it as well. We tend to like it in the feature race, which I'll explain in a minute. And it's nice to see every driver, by the looks of things, has made the start. Yes, they have. So these guys will do their sprint race, and they will now move away from the grid. Not the button I want, it's the helicam, that's the one we want. I'll run through the grid order in a few moments. Shouldn't I be at the back of the grid? Not sure where Varga is. He's ended up in the middle, so he is meant to be near the back, but either way, he's ended up there, so you're going to have to go from there, my friend. So the grid order looks like this. It is P. Williams on pole position with the block starting alongside him. Gary Leach will start in third with Waste in P4. Taylor will start P5 with Lee in P6. Williams starts P7 with Argent in P8. Saunders P9 with Gabino in P10, but he's not moved, so he's probably going to go back to the pits with Craig in 11th. Aberdeen will start 12th with Varga in 13th. Flores in 14th with Wolski in 15th. Fandango will start 16th. And Greaves will start 17th. Vitas in 18th and Langley in 19th. Then we got Best, who will start 19th with Tucker in 20th. 21st will be Bell with Atherton starting in 21st. Betterson 22nd. Archer 23rd. Smith 24th. And that is your grid order with Gabino now returning to pit lane as they now work their way through the 2x2 grid and head themselves towards the start of this race. There's currently a poll going out on who you think is going to win this first race. Bosch, Williams or De Block. Get your votes in on who you think. And if you think it's someone else as well, if you think it's someone else as well, then please put your comment in the chat. As we now get ready for the first race tonight. As Pit Tips in the chat says, good luck to you all. As we now go into the final corner, Gary Leach, for my vote, says peaceful stepdad. But it's going to be Williams who starts on pole position from De Block, Leach and Taylor, who is going to take the first win tonight. And Clarwell says Leach as well. It's Williams and De Block, two McLarens on the front row. As we now wait for starters orders here in Spain, Valencia. Who's it going to be? And we are green and go, and Aberdeen gets a drive-through for being out of position, and De Block gets the jump and heads down towards turn number one. Williams caught out there, and through turn number one we go. And Gary Leach makes contact there with, I think, Waste as they all go through turn number one, and there's carnage everywhere, cars absolutely everywhere. Who has been caught up in all of that? I'm pretty sure a few of the drivers have done. Williams hasn't, but a lot of them ended up dropping down the order there, and multiple cars going across as Leach was the one who caused the contact with I believe it was Waste, as Williams continues on, and he's got the other Williams driver right behind him. Vargas had a brilliant start and worked his way up the order. Meanwhile, everyone else is trying to get themselves into order. Your championship contenders, meanwhile, are together. I think that's Langley ahead of... no, it's not. Langley is behind Vitas. Vitas needs to score as many points as he can while Langley is behind him. But it is De Block who leads the way. Flores has managed to get going, and Gabino's managed to miss all the chaos. As Mac in the chat says, hello SimPlay chat, good luck racers. And oh, Williams has made a mistake. De Block's all over the shot. I think De Block's is about to get disconnected, but he's gone. Varga now leads this race ahead of Williams, ahead of Wolfski, and Vitas and Langley also working their way up the order. Craig had been passed by Vitas there, and it's now Langley's attempt to try and get past, but De Block, I'm not sure what happened there. Lee got disconnected, but down the inside goes Langley, and he gets the job done on Craig, and he stays with his rival. But Vitas choosing to pit straight away. Aberdeen obviously choosing to get that drive-through done instantly. The Lexus is in as well. I believe that is Fandango. Yes, it is. But everyone else continuing on through. A little bit of a messy start here as Archer. A great start from him. So for Best, he's up into P6. Tucker, so some of the bronze drivers getting a really good start here, and a lot of drivers taking track limits on the exit of turn 1. Cabino also staying out of trouble, has worked his way up the order, and De Block with that heavy internet problem obviously dropping further back as Wolfsky sets the fastest lap of the race. But it's Varga who leads the way ahead of Williams, and also his internet's looking a bit sketchy at the same time, as I think that we just possibly lost Varga. Oh nope, there he is. He's just suddenly popped out of nowhere, and some of these internets are looking a little bit sketchy. Oh, there you can see Varga has made contact with Wolfsky, and that's just pure lag there. So I'm not sure what on earth is happening with some of the lag in here. How's Archer looking? His lag is looking okay. It's not too bad. He's quite high up on the ping, but he's not looking too bad. But that's given Williams now the race lead ahead of Langley. And with all these guys disconnected and having issues with the internet, they're dropping down the order, and that's allowing Langley to work his way to the top 3. He's looking to try and pressurize the leaders out in front. And Langley now does pit, so Varga meanwhile further back has gone round himself, and he has an issue as well. Possibly the internet really hurting him a little bit, and we got more cars coming into pit lane. Meanwhile, Vitas has done his stop. Fandango is ahead of Argent, while Atherton is there in 22nd. Saunders with a loose back end. Williams has managed to get going as well. But the close fights at the minute is Leach trying to pass Tucker at the minute, but Best as well. Just sticking with the leaders at the minute. Looking very good at this stage, with Langley obviously coming into pit lane now. Archer sticking with the guys in front. Gabino's obviously opted to stay out long. And Vitas now coming down the main straight. There is Langley, who is going to get the jump. Langley has to stay to the outside, stay within the white line. Vitas needs to jump him as they go through turn number 1. Here comes Vitas, and Langley was practicing a lot of pit stops, and it's looked like it's worked for him, and he's got ahead of Vitas, so that is very important. Meanwhile, your top 2, Williams and Wolfsky, are trying to pull away from the rest of the pack. They'll have to pit very soon if they want to cover off those 2, but Vitas also will want to make sure he gets ahead of Langley, so they might have their own little scrap for those positions. Meanwhile, Tucker still ahead of Archer and Smith. The fight for bronze. Best is leading that one at the minute and been hunted down by Leach. What else is going on? Greaves has cleared Bell. Bell's got the company of Betterson behind him. So all these guys spread out quite a bit after the pit stops, but other than your championship contenders who are right behind one another, and your leaders now coming down the main straight as Williams and Wolfsky trading fastest laps. Craig was fastest lap previously, but he's dropped further back now. And we now obviously keep an eye on your championship fight between these 2, but at the minute they're quite even, as Best gets a little bit closer to the back of Leach. Staying relatively close to him. Smith opting to pit and choosing to get out of the pack. Let's head through the final part of the final first sector. And Leach just holding off Best at the minute. Leach having to look behind him a little bit by the looks of things. Their Best lose a little bit of momentum. Meanwhile, Williams has lost the lead to Wolfsky, so Wolfsky in the end managing to get the jump on the Lamborghini driver, and Langley still has got Vitas for company. De Block has pitted as well, and just ahead of them was Smith in the pits. He's come out ahead of Betterson, and whereas Betterson, he was at 16th, so he's put himself into that 15th place position. Williams though making a slight error and a slight mistake there, allowing Wolfsky to get going, and Williams hits the curb a little bit too hard, and he drops positions there to Craig. He's managed to get going. Is he going to lose out to Leach? I don't think he will. He'll stay ahead of Leach, but that's definitely a podium gone for him, as Langley and Vitas will be possibly leading that group, as Wolfsky is going to be trying to extend that gap as much as he possibly can. Goes and does another fastest lap. Williams now's pit, so that's his choice to come in. Meanwhile, Langley and Vitas are onto the back of the Audi of Aberdeen. You can see Langley having a moment through the right-hand kink, and that's put Vitas right on his back bumper. And Aberdeen, meanwhile, is right in front of these 2, and he now opts to pit. So can Vitas use the slipstream to try and slingshot his way past the Ferrari into turn 1? He's getting close, he's getting close. He's going to look to the inside. He's not quite close enough. And Langley holds on to the position. But Langley goes very, very wide. That is going to be a chat limit ping for him. And Williams has gone green and is now on his way out of pit lane. He's going to get jumped by, I think, Greaves. Yes, he did. And where was Williams after all of that? He comes out behind the two Ferraris of Bettison and Smith, who are having a good little scrap at the moment. So that's not worked out for him very well, as we now got to the halfway stage of this race. Archer still giving Tucker a little bit of a headache, as Best is just keeping his line going, keeping himself in check and ahead of the guys he needs to be. We'll have to pit very, very soon though. Meanwhile, Fandango has got past Bell and is on his way up the order. A lot of these drivers possibly carrying damage. The block, meanwhile, has lost out to Atherton, and he's dropped down the order. Taylor with major damage earlier on. Varga seems to be having internet issues. My ping is below 40, but I'm not sure what's causing these lags. You might have to just leave the session, Varga, and maybe reset your PlayStation and do an internet test. Tends to be the best thing to do. Meanwhile, Vitas is not letting Langley get away with this lightly. As they both come out of the final corner. Vitas does have the fastest lap to his name, but it's not enough. He needs to be outscoring Langley at the moment. Meanwhile, Bell looks like he's suffering with some form of damage by the looks of things. The 94 Williams drive-through penalty for track limits only just gets from bad to worse for him, as he gets a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, we got Tucker exiting pit lane, but Bell under some immense pressure here from Waste as he looks to turn number one. But Bell manages to hold him off for the meantime. Langley and Vitas still trading places. Meanwhile, Tucker has dropped behind Smith and Bettison, and Williams is just behind this lot. And Bettison managing to finally get the job done on Smith. Job done for him. Meanwhile, Argent catching on to the back of this fight between Bell and Waste. And Tips in the chat saying, don't think the servers have been right for a while. No, they have not. Which has really ruined the experience of ACC for a lot of drivers, and it's such a shame, especially the Xbox boys seem to be having a lot of issues. But down the inside goes Waste. Bell tries to shut the door. He gets a loose back end. Waste gives him the pace back, and Argent now goes around the outside of Waste to nab that position. And job done there. Position gained for Argent, so quite cleverly done there. Waste getting close to the back of him, but not able to capitalise there. Smith, meanwhile, holding up Williams, as Williams anyway has to serve his drive-through very, very quickly. Still your championship contending fight at the minute. Langley versus Vitas, 4/10 separating them, and Langley having to absorb all the pressure from his rival at this moment in time. Meanwhile, Wolski continues to lead ahead of Craig, ahead of Leach, ahead of Best, ahead of Archer and Gabino, your non-pitters so far. Langley leading pitter, and Vitas lost a little bit of time there. Sam Greaves at P9, minding his own business. As he'll come through as Williams now does his drive-through, and Argent now really pressurising Bell. Bell goes wide. Argent looks momentarily to the inside. He'll put him to the outside of the right-hander. Bell goes wide, but Argent with a poor exit there, not able to get his nose up the inside. And oh, contact there. Waste has spun Argent round, and around he goes. He manages to get himself going. He's going to end up in the dirt, and where is Flores? There goes Taylor as well. I think he's a lap down. Yeah, he is. So through will go Flores. Up the inside he goes, and job done. We've got a couple of pitters up the front. We've got Craig, Cabino, and Archer all coming into the pits. And looks like Langley seems to be getting into a little bit of a groove here, starting to pull away from Vitas, and he now sets fastest lap of the race. So evident flow in between these two. Meanwhile, the block has got past Atherton there. And Saunders is ahead of Williams, ahead of Taylor, who's 2 laps down. And Waste now continue to try and find a way past Bell, but he can't seem to find a way through at this moment in time. Now they go side by side, Waste and Bell. Bell had a bad exit out the final corner, and down the inside goes Nuke Waste, and he will get the job done. Will he stay a bit too wide? He will. Contact with Bell, and Bell goes off, and he manages not to hit the wall, importantly, so that's good. He's got to make sure he doesn't have a bad rejoin. Stay to the inside of the circuit while the rest of them fly on by. But it's not what he needed there. Meanwhile, Craig has pitted, and he's got Sam Greaves for company right behind him as Wolfsky now opts to pit. So it's pretty much a fight between the top two. Now is Langley and Vitus to probably win this race. I don't know if Wolfsky's done enough of a good job to really hold them off, but we shall see. But Sam Greaves now onto the back of Craig. This will then get him into a P4. Best now pits as well as Leach tries to push it that little bit further. Greaves here with the Lexus power going to the outside. He should have it done by going into turn 2, but he's going to go around the outside of the McLaren. Can't get it done. He runs wide. Might give him a ping for track limits, but he's got the straight line advantage. Has Wolfsky stayed in front? No, he has not. So it is a fight between Langley and Vitus for the race win. Meanwhile, Greaves, straight line did not help for him down the back straight, main straight, but Craig managing to hold him off. Betterson meanwhile still ahead of Smith, Tucker, Archer, Gabino, and now Fandango just on the back of them as well. Best comes out ahead of that entire group and leading bronze driver, which is good to see. But it is Langley versus Vitus for the win here by the looks of things. Leach leaving it to the last lap to pit. Here's Leach. He is now coming up to the far end of the circuit. And Greaves still can't find a way past on Craig. And Craig doing a good job in the McLaren, just holding him off. Oh, and Smith there having a big of a tank slapper there. Gabino meanwhile under pressure from Fandango. Is he going to find a way through? There, Flores makes a mistake and goes a little bit wide. Leader is on the final lap. That is Leach, and he's into pit lane. But he is not your race leader. It will be Langley and Vitus who comes out the final corner to start their final lap. There's a lot of action happening up and down the order. Williams is now onto the back of Bell, so he's trying to make some form of recovery in this sprint race. But it's Argent and Flores and Aberdeen as well. Track temperature is at 39 degrees. It's quite warm here in Valencia. And Leach has gone green, but it is your two leaders out in front. Wolfsky will secure that P3. Here comes Craig and Greaves. They should get Leach, or Craig will. I don't know about Greaves. He goes through turn 1. He ain't quite going to get there, or is he? He's going to go up the inside of turn 2. Sam Greaves gets the job done, but Gary tries to undercut, takes too much of the inside, and the back end gets loose, and he loses that position. Meanwhile, Langley and Vitus nose to tail. Who's it going to be? Is it the Ferrari? Is it the McLaren? Your two championship contenders going at it tooth and nail here. Meanwhile, Gabino. Oh, there's all sorts of chaos here. Is that Betterson off? Yes, it is. Betterson's off. Smith possibly made contact with him as well. And there's cars flinging themselves left, right, and centre. But we go back to your leaders. Langley has only got a couple of corners to survive, and I think this is where the Ferrari just seems to lose a little bit in this left-hander, but I think he's done enough. I think he's going to hold off Vitus here into the final corner. They go. Great Langley and Vitus comes to the line, and it's going to be a Langley with the race win here. He wins the sprint race at Valencia ahead of Vitus in P2. P3 is going to go to a very solid drive from Wolfsky. He'll finish in that third place position. Craig will hold off Greaves in the end for a solid P4. A great drive from him, and he'll cross the line in that P4 position. A great job done from him. Greaves in P5. P6 will go the way of Leach, and Best is going to cross the line in P7, leading bronze driver. Tucker, meanwhile, is going to finish in that P8 position, ahead of Benny Archer in 9th, and Fandango rounds off your top 10. Gabino in 11th, Smith will cross in 12th, and then it's going to be Argent in 13th place position. Ahead of Aberdeen for 14th, Flores in 15th. Bell is going to hold off waste in the end to finish in that 16th place position. And it's going to be Waste ahead of Williams, ahead of then Luke Saunders. Atherton is going to come home for 20th. Williams in the end for 21st, and Betterson 22nd. Taylor 23rd, and Lee didn't get to finish the race. But it's Langley who takes your race win. Catch you later in the chat, Mac, as he's got to go back to work. But that was the first race, and an interesting race at that. We'll be back in a few moments' time, as we will then have the final race of the night for the Pro-Am. So we'll be back in a few moments' time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport as we get ourselves back and underway for the next session, and we are into the qualifying session now with Vitas, the first one out on track. Not necessarily always the best thing to be is out on track first, but either way he will get the clean air first of all. Let's have a quick look at the championship standings after that, and just as I predicted, it is only now down to 2 drivers now going into the final few races here. So, championship standing, it is Langley versus Vitas with a 48-point gap separating those two. Pole position is going to be very important here for this second race. Then it's Sam Greaves in that P3 with a comfortable gap over Wolski at the minute in P4, Fandango in P5 with Flores in P6, Unsworth in P7 with Varga P8, Aberdeen in P9 with Craig in P10, Gabino in P11 with Saunders in P12, Arjun in P13, 14th is Williams, 15th is Lee, with Smith in 16th place position, Taylor in 17th, Ritchie in 18th, Archer in 19th, with Waste in 20th. 21st is Johnson, Leach 22nd, Betterson 23rd, De Block 24th, Atherton in 25th, Bell 26th, Tucker 27th, with KLF 28th, Best 29th, Wheel in 30th, Williams 31st, Storak in 32nd, Bosch in 33rd, Goodwill 34th, Marsden 35th, Jackal 36th, and Andrews in 37th position. Regarding the teams, it is for Q Motorsport heading now Cloud 9 as no gas, no gloria here to not score any points. And again, it is down to those 3. No gas is going to pretty much be out of the title at this rate, and it is then only 254 points separating Cloud 9. And it's not looking too good for those guys at the moment. Greasy Bandit so sat in P4 with SimPlay Racing now in P5, Team Audio Sport in P6 with Team Murloc P7, Quantum in P8, Soldor in P9 with NLR Racing in P10, Black and Blue Racing in 11th, Rapid Rabbits in 12th, 2C's Racing in 13th with Lexi's Industries in 14th, 15th is GBR, Team BSR in 16th and OWR Racing 17th and OGR rounding out the grid, and they are now coming to the end of the qualifying session. So it's pretty much down to Langley and Vitas now in the title hunt. And a couple of comments while we were off there. Matt Wright saying a quantum domination, both class wins. Let's go, boys. A nice recovery drive with Andy's drive-through, says Gary Clarble, and congrats as well. As Vitas now comes to the line and he's about to set the first lap time, and it's a 1:31.5. It is then going to be Smith then to come to the line. What can he produce? No lap time for him, and then it is a Lexus. And that Lexus did not set a lap time. Langley, meanwhile, was coming down the middle of this circuit. Aberdeen goes into P2 as Bell allows him through. Then it's going to be Taylor to come to the line. He goes P3 without lap time. Lee goes straight up to second place with that one, a good lap time from him. Archer to the line goes P7 with Leach now going P2 ahead of Williams, who was just ahead of him on circuit. Now we've got Langley coming to the line, and he gets half a second off of Vitas' best. Sam Greaves also P3, good lap time from him, as Atherton does not get a lap time on the board, with Argent now going into P5, and we've got Saunders crossing the line, no lap time for him. And we now look to the Aston Martin of Flores, who's just been struggling towards the end of this season. So Flores kind of on a back foot towards the end of this part of the season. We've got Wolski now coming out of pit lanes as Williams now comes to the line. Currently 18th, he now goes up to P10. As we now look into the final set there, and it is his teammate of Nuke Waste coming to the line. To the line goes Waste, no lap time on the board for him, as we then go back to the top of Langley, who extends his gap at 31.1. Wow, to put it this way, the fastest time we've seen from the pro so far is a 30.5, I believe. So Langley not far off that pace Vitas not far off that pace as Langley is coming out of the pit lane. A few cars coming to the line. Fandango gets a lap time on the board and goes 8th with that one. Bell now comes to the line and finally gets a lap time on the board. Who just improved? I believe it was Taylor. Yes, he goes up to P5 on that one, as we now have Leach improve as well. He goes P3, and Williams does improve as well. So both of those guys looking a little bit quicker. Leach now starting to get the pace up a bit. Argent's in a little bit of a train here behind the Lexus of Atherton. And Argent does not improve. Luke Saunders now comes to the line. He gets the lap time on the board, only good enough to 12th, and then Flores now to 14th. He moves himself up into 11th place position. A few drivers also on a qualifying ban here tonight. As you now look to Williams to cross the line. And what's his time going to be? He moves himself up into that 11th place position. Good improvement from him. Now Nuke Waste, who have not yet set a lap time on the board. And he does put one on the board and goes 9th and quicker than his teammates. Meanwhile, Vita still in the 31, so 31-1 from him. As we're now, I think it's Smith coming to the line. Yes, it is. He goes 13th with that one. There's going to be Fandango. He goes to 9th, so he improves. Langley now starts a lap as he's got Best behind him. And Best at the minute is 16th, so no improvement for there. Leach, meanwhile, Argent did improve in the end. He goes P4. Leach coming to the line now. Any improvement from him? No, he's within a 10th of Langley though, so it is still relatively close. Archer now to the line. No improvement for him either. Now we've got Atherton coming out the final corner, currently 5.2 off the pace. Comes to the line, no improvement for him. Luke Saunders does. He goes to 11th. What can Flores do? He goes to 14th. We go back to Williams, who's now exiting the final corner. So lap times are improving. Where is Williams? There he is. 15th currently. He's got Wolski behind him as well. Wolski looking good. He goes P7 with that time. We go back to the top once again. Nuke Waste goes 12th with that little previous run. Vitas, no improvement again there. He stays where he is as Argent starts a lap. We go to Smith once again. Smith stays 17th with that lap time. And Langley gets it in just under half a second, so not really enough to really threaten Vitas at the minute, who's looking good on pole position. As Aberdeen now comes to pit lane. Meanwhile, Gary Leach has been looking quite good here. He looked quite competitive. Meanwhile, Williams is next. He does find an improvement, but not by much. He only stays 6th with that one. With Sam Greaves now coming to the line. 1.4 off the pace, no improvement for him either. So lap times now are getting tricky. Drivers possibly pushing that a little bit too hard, possibly into turn 1. As soon as they go off that green AstroTurf, that is it. Their lap time is done. Best Quantum win both categories. Let's go, says Best in the chat. As Flores there as well, just comes to the line. It just seems to be struggling in this back end of the season. And here we go, Wolfski to the line. And he now goes 5th, so he's slowly finding some pace. We've got Leach now. I think he's about to start a lap. Yes, he is. And just behind him is Williams. He goes a little bit wide there. Meanwhile, Vitas, no improvement again. So I think that's pretty much him. Kind of capping at his best at the minute. We've got Smith now coming to the line. Any improvement from him? No. Fandango, I don't know if he did improve, but he's in P9 at the minute. Langley, though, half a second still down on Vitas. Is this the lap he needs? We've got one more after this, and it is not. He's not going to improve. And now we've got Taylor now coming to the line. No improvement, but Williams does improve and goes ahead of Greaves and gets a little bit closer to Wolfski, as Greaves doesn't improve either, so it's literally nick and tuck. Luke Saunders now is going to be the first one to finish, and he will not improve. Best he will do is 13th place. What does Atherton have? Does he improve? No, he does not either. So Wolfski to the final corner. Argent is done. P4, is he about to get knocked off by Wolfski here? To the line, here he goes. Not enough, so he stays P5, best he can do. There is Williams in the background. No, it's not. It is Nuke Waste coming to the line now. 2.2 off the pace. Has he found an improvement? No, he has not. And he will stay where he is. Langley is, Vitas is done. Langley is still on a lap. So is Williams. He's done. Who's coming to the final few corners? It is Smith and Fandango. And here comes Smith now. Smith does improve and go ahead of Flores. Fandango moves up to 7th as well, so an improvement from him. Meanwhile, Langley to the line does not improve and will stay P2, but that is not all bad. Meanwhile, Sam Greaves out of the final corner. I think he's the last one to go. To the line he comes. Any improvement? It is an improvement and goes to P6, back ahead of Williams. Where it's Vitas who takes that vital pole position lap away from Langley, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. So guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be notified. This feature race is going to be epic. It's going to be Vitas to the inside. It's quite easy to run wide through there. And take too much speed, so he's got to be cautious going through there. But it's all eyes on the guys at the front for the title. McLaren versus Ferrari. And Quantum wanting to try and get another win to the name. Good luck to NLR. Andy says tips in the chat, and I'm pretty sure a poll is going to be going up very, very shortly. And again, if you are new to SimPlay Motorsport, the way this is going to work out, it is a 70-minute race with 1 pit stop required from the drivers. Tyres are an option, so they don't necessarily have to pit for tyres if they don't want to. That's pretty much been the go-to of the season, but it should be an interesting one nonetheless. 4Q Motorsport for the constructors. I think Michael Harris, that is pretty much in the bag, I think. With no Unsworth here to score any points for No Gas, No Glory, and Cloud9 quite a bit behind in the championship earlier on. I think it's going to ask quite a lot from Cloud9 to really do anything about it. So either way, we are going to have an epic final race here. Well, final race of the night. The final race of the season is next week at Donington Park, and it is going to be an all-out war. Hopefully the weather stays relatively good, or maybe we get some rain, who knows. Love a bit of drama here at SimPlay Motorsport, especially right at the end of the season. But it's Ferrari versus McLaren. And like I said, obviously we're coming to the end of the season, but there is still an opportunity to get yourself signed up into the channel and ready for next season when we come around. Ramsel Rain, he wants obviously the rain to come next week. And also I want to say a massive thank you to our sponsors, Design Manchester and Audio Sports as well. Give them a like and follow on all their social media, or their links are in the description below. you want to be a Patreon as well and help vote for the calendar next season, then feel free to join up to that as well. Link dropped in the chat. Obviously, you'll be put into the list of names in the stream as well. And like I said, get yourself signed up, get yourself a part of the Discord, go to the sim grid, get yourself all done and dusted through there, do your hot stints. Once you are there, we will have our fun events, and I believe we have an endurance race in the mid-season as well. We will get all the information ready for you guys for the new event. But we are about to go racing here at Valencia for the final time for the Pro-Ams. Pro tomorrow night with Sweet and Sticky in your box, Kelly Davis and Matthew Duffin bringing you all the action. Championship still alive for them. O'Reilly versus Rook versus Davis. More likely going to be Rook versus O'Reilly. But either way, Team Audio Sport holding off the constructors as well. But tonight it's about Vitas and Langley, and it's also about 4Q Motorsport. Can they win the title tonight? We shall see. Either way, we have got a 2x2 formation. It is Vitas versus Langley. Who's going to take the win? We now wait for the green lights.
Green light, go, go, go.
And we are green and go, heading down towards turn number 1, and Vitas got the start he needed as Leach looks to the inside of Langley, and Langley is in a championship fight, so he cannot really get involved with any of the incidents here with this Porsche driver, but he's still going to stick his nose there, and Leach gets the jump. So what Langley needs now is Leach to go after Vitas as well, but Langley trying to keep his nose there, and he stays ahead. Meanwhile, everyone else is relatively clean as well. No silly incidents except for one car towards the back of the pack. Another slow car as well. I'm not sure who that is, but a couple of slow drivers. Smith towards the back of the pack, and I think it's the number 18. Yes, that is Flores. He's had a poor start as well, but Gary Leach looking like he tried to get the jump, but not quite, and he's ended up dropping down the order. And down towards turn, the left-hander towards the middle sector. There you go. And Vitas got the jump he needed. Meanwhile, Williams under a bit of pressure from Fandango and Taylor as he tries to back them up a little bit and try and put themselves under a little bit of pressure. But all relatively clean and fair from most of the drivers there. Flores obviously got caught up with something. Vargo looks like he's sorted his internet out, and he looks like he's not jumping about like an idiot this time round, which is good to see. Work their way through the final corner. You see there Williams goes a little bit wide and loses out to Varga. Varga improves on a position and works his way towards the front. Can get himself on the podium once again. But we see Bosch also in the background. He's had internet problems, but hopefully his calmed down. But Vita starting to spread his advantage over Langley, but Langley's not letting him get too far away. We've got Leach in third, Argent in fourth, Wolfsky now in fifth, and Greaves in sixth, Williams in seventh, Fandango in eighth, ninth is Taylor, and Lee is in a 10th place position. Aberdeen 11th, Saunders 12th, Waste has actually got ahead of Saunders, so a position gain for him, and then Craig in 14th. Varga now up to 15th, has passed them best. Williams into, oh, and there we got contact with Bell and Bosch there. And again, Bosch, I think, is suffering with internet problems. He's bouncing all over the shot. And Bell and Bosch drop down the order behind Gabino, Atherton, now Tucker, Flores, Betterson, and Smith. And Bosch has gone from the session. And again, internet issues from him has put him down towards the back of the pack. But at the minute, ready to... Oh, Williams has gone off. I don't know if that's contact maybe with Sam, but he has gone off. And Sam Greaves improves as Sam Williams drops down the order. Meanwhile, Luke Saunders up, looking to go up the inside of Nuke Waste, but can't get the job done. And straight away, Williams is straight back in the action. He's probably got some really hot rear tyres. As now Varga goes and sends it down the inside of all of them, and he gets Craig. And Best tries to get a good exit as well, but he can't get the job done. There is Williams, who's also going to try and make a run towards the outside. Williams do it around the outside of Best. Best defending as best he possibly can, and he can't hold him off. Best losing out there. Your leaders, meanwhile, Vitas and Langley starting to edge away from Leach. Argent giving Leach a little bit of a headache at the minute, keeping him honest. Wolski in P5, Greaves still in that solid P6 at the minute, losing out to Cloud9 at the minute. But obviously with, where's Fandango? He's dropped down the order, as Benny Archer's also had a moment to himself. He's dropped down as well. So Archer just dropping down the order. So Fandango really needs to start pulling his finger out a little bit after losing a couple of positions, because Cloud9 are outscoring a little bit to 4Q Motorsport, but not by much. Wolski obviously ahead of Sam Greaves at the minute, but Fandango should be able to come back to his own a little bit later on and try and catch up with Luke Saunders. As you can see there, Williams with a really loose back end of that Lamborghini, so he's obviously overheated those tyres already, and possibly wanting the window to open up as soon as he possibly can. You can see there he's onto the back of Saunders, who's had a poor run through the left-hand kink, and Varga seems to be his favourite move, is down the inside of the final corner. Williams sees him coming, but Williams keeps it pinned around the outside. That will be a track limits warning for him. He loses out there. Meanwhile, Langley sets fastest lap of the race and has dropped Leach, and Leach now holding up everyone else, including Argent, Wolski and Greaves, now slowly working his way into that. Taylor goes very wide with Lee just behind him, Aberton and Waste rounding up the top 10, and there Varga goes very wide, and Saunders really not wanting him to allow him to come back onto the circuit. Up the inside goes Williams. Varga goes wide. Williams have the inside for the King, but Varga will have the inside for the next corner, but he's gone way too wide, and Williams gains the position back, and Varga has a little bit of a twitch there and ends up going off the circuit momentarily. But Langley now getting himself into a little bit of a groove here against Vitas and trying to bring that fight to him. Go through the middle sector now. Ebbing and flowing between these two. Langley gets relatively close to the back of Vitas. Vitas able to keep him honest at the moment. And we see here now Sam Greaves. This is the fight for the constructors. Cloud9 versus 4Q Motorsport, and at the minute Cloud9 just keep an advantage on them as Greaves goes a little bit wide. Taylor just slowly working his way onto the back of this pack. He's just minding his own business. Oh, and we see there Varga's gone wide through the kink, and that's going to allow Williams to go around the outside. Job done for him. And Craig now looking to come back at Varga up the inside, but contact made there from Williams. Williams misjudging his brakes and hits the back of Craig. Craig managing to get himself going as well. Williams there waiting for Craig, and there comes Tucker, Craig's teammate in the background. The Team Murloc drivers working their way through the pack. Archer now going a little bit wide as he tries to extend or try and gain on Leach, but Leach seems to be starting to get himself into a little bit of a rhythm. Everyone else seems to be a little bit spread out. Oh, we're there, we see Best, little bit of contact down to the back of Gabino, and Gabino loses the back end. Fandango now needing to work his way through the order. Where is Saunders? Saunders is now going through the right-hander with Williams behind him, and Fandango in 16th, so he's not miles behind him, and he needs to outscore him as much as he can. And the same with Greaves to Wolski, because at the minute Cloud9 are outscoring 4Q Motorsport at the minute. Each now starting to pull away from Argent, and Argent now becoming a little bit of the trolley train for Wolski and Greaves. Obviously, like I said, constructors fight between these two, and they're really going to be interested in trying to clear Argent as quickly as they possibly can. See there, Wolski gets a little bit of a better exit than Sam Greaves, but Greaves obviously with that Lexus run should help him on the straights, but he's not quite close enough to really do anything. He needs to have a fantastic final corner to really mount an attack going into turn number 1. And like I said, they're both just held up by Argent at the minute, who's ahead of them at the minute, and allows Leach to just pull away. You see there Saunders having a fight with Williams. Williams up to the outside there, and with that fight going on, it's allowing Varga to get closer and try and hunt down the Lamborghini and fellow BMW driver. That's going to be another track limits there for Williams. He needs to be careful with them, or else he will get a penalty. Fandango now is onto the back of Gabino, and this is important for him. He needs to clear this car relatively quickly. Once he clears him, he will then try and hunt down the cars in front. And more importantly, he needs to hunt down Luke Saunders. Langley, meanwhile, seems to have lost a little bit of touch to Vitas. Vitas seems to be getting into a little bit of a groove. And here we go with this Cloud9 4Q Motorsport fight between Wolski and Greaves. As long as Greaves and Fandango kind of match Cloud9 lap for lap and car for car, they should be okay going into at least Donington Park and pretty much win it in the sprint race. They could win it here tonight. They need to outscore both Luke Saunders and Wolski. Meanwhile, Williams and Varga going at it at the moment, and Varga trying to get a better exit on Williams. He should do. Now going down the back straight. The BMW now in the slipstream. Will Williams defend the inside? No, Varga is going to go alongside the Lamborghini, and Williams thinks better of it, trying to send it to return number one. Varga, though, is he going to keep it in track limits? Just about. Looks terrible, but he does keep it in track limits, which is good to see. You see that Williams right, he did get past Varga, but Varga right on the back bumper of the Lamborghini driver, not giving him room to breathe whatsoever. And Williams does maintain that position in the end. And again, Greaves gets a little bit closer to Wolski. They get closer to Argent, and a little bit closer as well to Leach as well. So Leach not running away from these guys at the minute. He actually gained a little bit back on him. He goes a bit wide through that right-hander, very easily done. Oh, Wolski has a moment, he has a slide, and Greaves looked for a moment there to go up the inside, but did not get the opportunity to do so. Wolski there just making a little mistake, but Greaves going a little bit wide as well, which has hurt him a little bit. Coming into the final corner now. I say he needs to get a good slingshot out of the corner to really give Wolski a bit of a hard time. Wolski not quite in the toe. He will get a slight toe from Argent and Leach ahead, but he's having to go defensive against the Lexus. Can Greaves go around the outside of turn number one? He would be brave to do so. He's going to try, but he's going to go way off wide, and he will lose a little bit of time to him. Luckily, he's no contact made and no positions lost, but a fair effort, no, nonetheless. As now Argent's now onto the back of Leach. We've still got this titanic fight between Saunders, Williams and Varga. Gabino's not too far behind, and Fandango needs to try and, like I said, work his way to this fight, but I don't think he will. He seems to just be off the pace ever so slightly here at Valencia. Meanwhile, we've got Atherton, Williams and Tucker all close to one another. Williams has actually passed Atherton. I think Atherton looking to go up the inside of Williams into turn one. He's not close enough. Tucker was going to try and go around the outside. He's going to do it off circuit, but he manages to lift and allow Phil up the inside. Phil should hold on to the position. Yes, he does. As Varga now has got back ahead of Williams. What can he do to Saunders now? And Gabino is now slowly starting to creep onto the back of him. And your leaders once again separated only by half a second. And they now go down the main straight. Vitas has to do everything he possibly can to try and outscore Langley before they head to Donington, and Langley does take fastest lap of the race. Argent looks momentarily to the inside of turn number one, not going to get the job done. Wolski and Greaves have dropped off the back of those two, having their own little squabble. Meanwhile, Varga pits straight away, so he's opting to go into the clean air as quickly as he possibly can. So Williams and Saunders continue on through. Meanwhile, further back, we've got Best versus Craig, and Best going into the middle of the circuit. Craig looking to the inside of turn number one and can't get the job done, and Best holds on to the position. As now Tucker looks to try and make a move on Atherton as they now come down the main straight. And Varga doing his pit stop. Down into turn number one. Tucker gets the job done and pulls ahead of Phil. Nice position there gained for him. And upper position goes Tucker. Well, Craig is trying to stick to the back of Best. Best is pulling away ever so slightly. 4 tenths now separating Vitas and Langley. So not a lot separating these two. So now head through the kink. Vitas just holding off Langley momentarily. Leach still ahead of Argent. Wolfski also just sticking with them. Greaves as well. So it's kind of getting into that stage once again where drivers are just kind of in a... Oh, and I say that, Williams goes up the inside of Saunders. And Saunders losing a position there to Williams. And Williams now moving forward in his Lamborghini. Meanwhile, Craig has managed to get past Best, probably in turn 1. And we've got this fight between Betterson and Smith once again. A close little fight between those guys. They work their way around. The middle part of the circuit. And Reeves close to one another, Langley and Vitas. I think this is pretty much going to be the race between these two. They're kind of matching one another on pace, and like I said, 4 tenths, 5 tenths, it seems to be the gap. They don't seem to be quite pulling out or losing out to one another. See that Langley pushing the limits. He's not quite far over, but he's there. Team BSR of Leach still in P3, looking good. With Argent in P4, Wolski and Reeves all sitting close to one another, separated by a second roughly. Taylor starting to work his way onto the back of them. Dragon Lee with him. Meanwhile, Waste goes very wide in turn 1. And now it's Gabino's go to have a go at Saunders into turn number 1. A little bit too much curve for Gabino, and he runs him out wide. Again, Smith looking to try and attack Betson, but he's not quite close enough. Varga, though, gets his pit stop done. He's again bouncing in and out regarding internet. He's away from everyone else, so that's important for him, so he can try and keep a clean run. Momentarily, Langley got within 3 tenths of Vitas, but not able to use that pace. As they're now going into the final sector. So Langley and Vitas at the minute just trading places. Meanwhile, Argent under pressure now from Wolfski, and Greaves is not close enough to really capitalise on this at the minute. Lee is also getting himself back into the fight with Taylor. So it is going to be tight at coming up to this point of the race, with 52 minutes still left to go. So we've already done 20 minutes of this race. To turn number 1, there you go. Wolfski and Argent pushing the limits as much as they can. Wolfski waiting for any opportunity for a mistake. Meanwhile, Gabino and Saunders going at it side by side. Saunders defends the inside. Gabino looking to go the outside. He can't push the limits too much, or else he will get another track limit warning. Best meanwhile under pressure from Betterson as well, and Smith. So that's going to be a close fight for the bronze class. So he comes out on top of that. Meanwhile, Archer has got Williams for company further back. Benny Varga still going round towards the back of the pack, making sure he stays out of trouble because of his internet seems to be a little bit sketchy at this moment in time. So Vitas and Langley at the minute 1 and 2. The gap has improved as Bell there goes wide and off to the right hand side of the circuit. Wolski losing a little bit of pace now on Argent. Ended up slowly going into the clutches of Greaves by the looks of things. Greaves gets close. Cabino and Saunders once again relatively close to one another. Will stay on board with those guys. Cabino has a great run through the kink that's going to put a lot of pressure onto Saunders as they now go down to the final corner. Saunders goes wide and opens the door for Cabino to go up the inside. Job done for him, and through he goes. But he's had a poor exit. He's not had the best run there, and that's going to allow Saunders to come back at him towards turn number 1. B&W with a better straight line, I think. Cabino holds it strong around the outside, and Saunders can't get the job done there. He's going to have to try and wait for maybe turn 2, and a driver falling back down the order. But Saunders losing out to Cabino in the end. Meanwhile, Best still ahead of Smith. Betterson dropping down the order there. He's now ahead of Tucker, Archer. Flores has got ahead of Archer there. And just behind them is Williams as well. So a tight fight towards the back of the pack. It's Aberdeen and Waste are relatively close to one another as well. Taylor and Lee are close, so gaps are starting to close up once again. But Vitas now seems to be in a little bit of a groove and pulling away from Langley. 1.1 is now the gap. And Langley now seeing his points gap just being eaten into ever so slightly now, 1.3. So Vitas is in a groove. That's now Leach under pressure from Argent, Wolski, and then Greaves. So Greaves coming back at these three. Lee also gets very close to Taylor. You see here Fandango getting the job done on Saunders, and that's important for the constructors. He goes a little bit wide. And 4Q Motorsport are now outscoring Cloud9, which is going to help them secure the championship a little bit easier. As now Fandango tries to pull away. What's going to help him even more is Craig's got a great run out of the final corner, and that's going to give the opportunity for Craig to go up to turn number 1. Best also under pressure from Smith, and Saunders momentarily has gone behind Craig. As they head into the left-hander of turn 1, and Craig has got the position done, and that's more points taken away from the Cloud9 boys, and it extends for the 4Q Motorsport and gives them a more fighting chance of winning the title here. Meanwhile, Argent close to Leach, and more importantly again, Wolski's also lost out to Greaves. So while we were watching that fight, 4Q Motorsport have now passed another Cloud9, so Wolski losing a position. He ends up dropping further back. Meanwhile, Taylor still got the pressure of Lee. Now Aberdeen and Waste all close to one another, so it's getting interesting now as Leach still holds off Argent further behind. Down towards turn number 1. It's still Vitas versus Langley, and the gap stays at 1.1. And here we have Leach Argent coming down to turn number 1, 0.3 of a second separating them. How quickly can they pull away from Greaves meanwhile? And Argent's going to send it up the inside of the left-hander, and that's a good move done. Caught Gary napping there, and Gary having to drop behind Argent now. Gary Leach and Argent there going at it. Gary Leach now off the podium position, but he'll come back. He'll slowly work his way onto the back of the BMW driver. Sam Greaves also slowly working his way behind these two. And now Lee looking very interested on the back of Taylor, and he goes very wide at the same time. Runs into the marbles and loses all of his grip and drops further back now and into the clutches of Aberdeen. And there Aberdeen looking up the inside momentarily on Lee as they go through the right-hand kink. Can't get the job done there, so he has to wait a little bit later. Leach, meanwhile, has a better run through the final corner, and he's now onto the back of Argent once again. And while this is all going on, Greaves is slowly, bit by bit, catching him. You see in the background, Aberdeen goes very wide. trying to make a move on Lee, and that's actually put him under pressure from Waste instead. So now Waste is into the slipstream. Leach momentarily looking close to Argent, but dropping further back. Now Sam Greaves getting closer as well. Waste there looking like he wants to challenge the Audi driver of Aberdeen. No luck at the minute for him. Let's wait a little bit longer. Langley again brings the gap down ever so slightly, but again Vita seems to have it covered at the minute. All the fights we've got going on at the minute. We've got this titanic fight between Best and Smith. Is Smith going to look to the inside of turn 2? No, he thinks better of it and goes back to the racing line. Flores in the chat saying, sorry guys, pedal issue. So Flores had to retire. Is he retiring or just in pit lane? I think he's just in pit lane. Yeah, he's retired. And you can see there a little bit of damage to the front end of Williams' car as he's on the back of Tucker and Archer. Tucker goes very, very wide. Williams has to avoid the car coming back on circuit. And he goes up the inside, and job done for Williams there. He's now got past Tucker. Can he do anything about Archer? That's the question. Meanwhile, Lee and Taylor have pulled away from Aberdeen and Waste now. And once again, Argent has got the company of Leach right behind him. These guys just pushing the limits early on in this race. Obviously it's still relatively hot here. 39 degrees is track temperature, so it's scorching hot. These tyres are going to be screaming, and it's who's going to really decide to take tyres as well in this race. Is tyres going to be the way to go? That's the question. And Archer now still having to defend heavily from Williams at the minute. Archer does go wide, but Williams can't really do anything about it. He has to just sit in the slipstream once again to go over the kink, and Archer again having a little bit of a wobble. And Williams looks to the inside of the final corner, but he's not far enough along. And that's going to put Tucker now into the tow and into the run down towards turn number 1. Again, Langley brings the gap down. Just under a second. And he's coming up to that squabble as well. So you're going to have to be careful, because as they come down that straight, they've got Tucker, Williams and Archer going into turn number 2. Your leaders are going through turn 1. So it's going to be a close fight. Meanwhile, Argent and Leach close, probably nose to tail here. And Leach now, obviously the Porsche not got the straight line on the BMW, but can he stay close enough to have a good run through 1 and then attack him in 2? Greaves meanwhile goes very wide, and Leach breaks a little bit earlier as Argent just trying to hold off the Porsche driver. A good drive from these two at the minute. Can they just hold off the Lexus behind them? Lee meanwhile still giving Taylor something to think about. Aberdeen and Waste close to one another. Sam kind of running on his own ahead of Gabino, the leading Lamborghini group. Fandango still ahead of Craig. Meanwhile, Bell has a moment and moves out of the way. He's a lap down and allows Best and Smith to carry on their fight. And Smith looking to the outside of turn number 1. He'll be brave to get it done through there, but he's not going to. And Best holds off Smith. Bell ends up catching the back of him relatively quickly, as Williams has now got ahead of Tucker and Archer. And that's important, because further back is your leading drivers. And they'll be wanting to clear them as quickly as they can. Oh, there Argent has a slide, and so did Leach as well. So both of them not the best exit they would have wanted. Argent goes a little bit wide. That's going to allow Leach a better run through the kink and into the left-hander. But again, down the main straight they will go, and the Porsche will lose out on the straight. But he's got a great final corner there. A great exit. And again, Leach will not quite be close enough to really send it up the inside of turn number 1. You can see the Porsche kind of just tops out towards the end of the straight. turn 2 once again. So Argent's straight line BMW is helping him out massively here. Meanwhile, Taylor is onto the back of Assetto, and he's trying to stay out of the way. Lee goes up the inside. Aberdeen also coming closer as Waste is just behind him as well, and they all got to try and clear the traffic. So Smith has now got ahead of Best. So Smith now ahead in the bronze class. You see Fandango there having a scrap with Craig. Saunders really dropped off the pace. He's now down in 15th and well behind. You see there Waste in the background flashing Atherton to say, look, I'm coming through, mate. I'm in a fight here. Again, Greaves gets closer to Leach. Your gap as well for the leaders has come down to less than 3/4 of a second. What's the gap going to be now? Again, still 0.6 of a second, so they're really ebbing and flowing between these two. And again, Leach not able to capitalise on Argent in this moment in time. Greaves having a moment as well. Wolski just dropping off the back of these two. Taylor not catching him though, so Lee losing out a little bit. Aberdeen's now looking to come and make a move on Lee. Far behind them is Waste as well. And Aberdeen into the slipstream. Into the pits comes Atherton, and he comes in relatively quickly, manages to get it slowed down. Meanwhile, 0.2 of a second. It is pretty close between Langley and Vitus now. It is nose to tail for these two. Langley has brought the gap down. Langley trying to hold off the charge from the McLaren. They go through the last part of the middle sector. Vitus now gone from a comfortable drive to a little bit of a defensive drive here. Langley now looking up the inside of the final corner, has a moment. He's going to compromise his exit, and now they got traffic as well. And Vitus pits, so that's interesting. He comes into the pits. That's traffic they're coming up to as well. So that's going to possibly hold up Langley ever so slightly. But Vitus choosing the half and half fuel, I think. And Argent, Leach, and Greaves also close to one another. Do any of them pit? No, they don't. As Leach now has the Lexus of Greaves behind him and hunting him down. Got to be careful on those straights. Meanwhile, Lee is under pressure from Aberdeen and Waste. Now, would Vitus change tyres? It's very hot. Track temperature 39 degrees. It's a very, very hot circuit, and tyre wear is probably going to start kicking in. So Vitus is having quite a long stop. I reckon he's taking tyres here. So he's done it relatively early, halfway through this race roughly. So he's gone relatively early with that. So I think he's taking tyres. Where does it put him though? It's put him into a relatively good gap. He's ahead of Saunders and Smith. So, and who's he then got to chase? It's Craig and Fandango, and then lapping relatively well. So by the time these guys pit as well, Vitus will hopefully use those fresh tyres to his advantage right now. But Langley opted to carry on through and use the clean air. He's already lapped one car of Tucker, so that's important. And he's got a few other cars to lap as well. He's got the who else he got? He's got the 53 of Atherton to lap, and he's also got the 180 of Williams. So those guys should make it relatively easy for him to come through though. And again, Argent under pressure from Leach. These two have been going at it either end. So 1 minute is Leach giving the pressure and taking the pressure, and then it's been the other way around as Waste now chooses to pit. I don't know how much damage he has, but he's coming to the pits, and Williams has slowly been working his way onto this group. So Aberdeen Lee and Taylor all having a little squabble at the minute, and that's just allowing Williams to get a little bit closer. Again, we've got Argent and Leach going at one another. Who is going to crack Argent at the minute, doing the best job to keep him behind. While we're at this point of the race, guys, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified so you don't miss anything here at SimPlay Motorsport. Lee now is putting pressure onto the back of Taylor. Aberdeen's just seems to have lost a little bit of contact to them. Waste has stopped, and Vitas now through the middle sector, so that's how far off Waste is to him. And Vitas already dropping Smith, and like I said, he's in a nice window at the minute where there's not a lot of traffic. Argent comes in, as does Greaves. Oh, is he going to get it stopped? He does, but it hits the back of Argent. I think that's going to hurt him there, as also Wolfsky comes in as well. So those guys all upped in the pit. Now Aberdeen, Taylor's in as well. So those guys all wanting to stop. It is quite busy in pit lane. Saunders also came into the pits. As now Williams also comes down the straight. He's opted to stay out for as long as he can. So with all that going on, Vitas should clear most of these guys. He's now coming into the final corner. None of them have gone green whatsoever, so he's in a good position. Are they all thinking we need tyres in this race? And they've all come into the pits. Who has been dropped? I think that was Argent that was dropped. No one's been dropped yet. There's a long stop. Argent now has he got going? Yes, he will, as with Greaves, as should Wolfsky as well momentarily. Yes, he does. I think they've all taken tyres. So Argent now comes out of the pits. Will Greaves get a penalty? No, he doesn't, but he has got front end damage possibly from that. So all these guys, I think, are taking tyres. Now, do the guys at the front do the same? Langley, meanwhile, coming through the first corner. Vitas is in the middle sector, so I'm expecting Vitas to put some banging laps now in, to be really fast and to try and catch that gap back down to Langley. Langley is going to struggle towards the end of this race if he does not take the tyres. Leach now comes into pit lane, and with the characteristics of the Porsche, I would pit as well, and in comes Williams as well. So a lot of people opt in to get to the halfway stage of this race and get their pit stops done. Meanwhile, Langley isn't. He's choosing to go as long as he possibly can. Smith also been in pit lane. Gabino also been in pit lane. So a lot of cars through pit lane at the minute. Tucker hasn't, nor has Williams. Betterson, Best, Craig and Fandango. All those guys opting to stay out. And you can see in the background, Vitas is now started to catch his first set of drivers that are not going to be lapped traffic. They're going to be racing him. And obviously by the rules, they do not have to get out of the way. They can race as hard as they like for position. So it's how much of a pain are they going to be for Vitas. Leach, meanwhile, has gone green, as has Lee. Where does that put in comparison to Argent? Argent is going to stay in front of Leach, but only just. And then it's going to be Sam Greaves. Wolfsky goes a little bit wide. And who's behind them? It was Williams. Yes, no, it's Waste behind them. And Taylor goes through. Williams still in pit lane. He's now gone green, and he's ended up just ahead of Gabino where he roughly was. So that's where his fight's been. Varga, meanwhile, pitting very early. And Gabino is going to attack Williams. It's for a Lamborghini versus Lamborghini. Gabino will get the advantage there. Betterson in pit lane as well. Waste onto the back of Tucker. Tucker not pitted yet. So this is where it's all going to start coming into an effect. Fandango now and Craig going as long as they dare, and they do continue on going through. And now pit lane is incredibly quiet. pretty much most people have done their stops. We're still waiting for Langley, Fandango, Craig, Best, Williams and Tucker all to do their mandatory stops. And Best now opting that this is the best time to come into the pits, and he does so. Meanwhile, Vitas now onto the back of Craig. This is where his strategy might start to hurt. He needs to clear these cars relatively quick. Archer stays wide. And Williams, Craig probably thinking this is not his fight. He does not really want to be racing Vitas. Langley does pit now, so this is a crucial part of the race. And Vitas is in traffic. He nearly hits the back of Craig. And Craig there momentarily looked like he was in a little bit of trouble, but Vitas managing to avoid contact, and Langley has the undercut, the overcut worked over the undercut. So Vitas now into the final sector. Fandango's pulled away from Craig as Vitas was too busy getting past him, as we've got Greaves and Leach now close to one another. Wolfsky also close. But Vitas now coming into the final corner, and he does stay ahead, I think, of Langley. Yes, he will. Towards the line they go. Langley is the end of pit lane. He's gone green. He's going to come off the limiter straight away. Has he got the jump? I don't think he will. Vitas will swing into turn number 1, and Langley will fall straight in behind. And also, more importantly, stays ahead of Craig. And Langley, it's back to where we were. Vitas and Langley nose to tail. Argent ahead of Leach, ahead of Greaves. So everyone looking like they've opted for the same strategy, as Craig has decided to continue on through and push as much as he can. Currently sat P3. If he chooses not to take tyres and nurse them to the end, then Craig could be in a good opportunity here. But it's going to be incredibly difficult though. Looking a little bit compromised and in trouble against Greaves there, who's right behind him. He's looking for any opportunity to find a way through. Try and gain as many points as he possibly can over Cloud 9. Wolski's still there or thereabouts. If anything happens, he's still able to capitalise. But Vitas now into a groove and pulling away from Langley a little bit. Well, the scraps we've got going on as well. Varga under pressure from Cabino and the other Lamborghini of Williams as well. So it's going to get quite feisty between these three. Fandango with his stop done. He's ended up behind Williams, more importantly ahead of Luke Saunders and scoring more points. Smith is ahead of Williams has dropped in behind Best and ahead of Archer. Now Varga in trouble as Gabino looking left, looking right. He goes wide as Williams looks to the inside of the right-hander, and the other Lamborghini driver, the Team Audio Sport driver, looks to come back at him. Thinks better of it doing in the kink and waiting a little bit later on. Yeah, once again, Greaves giving Leach a bit of a headache, but he's just dropped off the back of him ever so slightly. Again, you top two, Langley versus Vitas at the minute, 0.8 of a second. Fastest lap going away with Langley, so Vitas doesn't have that point, but more importantly, Vitas does have the pole point, so that's one sway towards him as well. Again, we go back to this Titanic fight. German versus Italy, and all three of them run wide. That's going to be a track limits warning for all three of them. Varga going wide and the two Lamborghinis following him, and little error from those guys. Meanwhile, Betterson is chasing down Smith. Further back, 0.6 of a second is now Langley to Vitas. Close once again between these two. It's now 0.3 of a second. So Langley's had a great run through there. Maybe a little bit of traffic may have come into play here, but Vitas now possibly feeling the pressure. Yes, he is. He's gone wide through turn 1. Langley's going to try and go around the outside of turn 2. That's going to be a brave job if he gets it done. He does go wide. He's going to get on the curb. That's going to be track limits though. He's going to have to yield the position to Vitas, and for a moment there, Langley was looking to try and take the win away from Vitas, but Vitas being smart and keeping cool and calm, manages to hold him off momentarily. But Langley, another great run through the start of the middle sector, but can't get the run. Meanwhile, Lee is ahead of Taylor, but Taylor's got the run on Lee as they head down towards turn number 1. Can Taylor send it into 1? No, he can't. He's not far enough, but alongside and has to fall in position. Meanwhile, Greaves giving Leach a hard time still, but has dropped further back. You've got the Lamborghini fight still between Gabino and Williams. Go towards turn number 1. No opportunity there for either driver. Betterson pressurising Smith for the leading bronze driver, and you're leading 2. Still close. 0.4 of a second separating them. They go through into the final sector. The 566, that is Varga. He's got a drive through for track limits. So all the hard work that Benny Varga done earlier on, he's now lost out. And once again, we look to Langley and Vitus, and they are going to try and break the toe here is Vitus. But Langley now in the slipstream. Just ahead of him is the following Quantum car of Best. And there you go, Vitus runs a little bit wide. He's probably had to lift ever so slightly as well to not get the ping. But Langley there still pressurising the McLaren, really making Vitus work for this championship. Meanwhile, Lee still under pressure from Taylor. And Leach now back onto the bumper of Argent. So Argent making a couple of errors here. That's allowing Leach to come back at him. And he knows for a fact that if you give Leach a sniff an opportunity, he will take the position as quickly as he possibly can. As now we've got Vitus and Langley coming up to lap Best. That's the 2 Quantum cars for the first time are running together. Varga still yet to do his drive through. Langley gets very, very close. Leach, meanwhile, is getting close to the back of Argent. A bit of a slide there from Leach. Tucker, meanwhile, yet to stop, is holding up the BMW and the Lamborghinis at this time. The 23, that is Tucker. He now gets himself a drive through. Now we have Vitus and Langley close to one another. Best doing the best thing there. Moving to the side and staying out of the way of the championship fight. He could have helped his teammate out there, but he's following the rules and allowing those guys through. Meanwhile, further back, that was, I believe, Tucker. No, it's not. It's Craig. Where is Craig on the... I can't find him. Be Craig. There, sorry, third. He's now opted to pit. And he had Williams, I think, go very wide just behind him a waist. I'm not sure which one of the drivers, but Craig now stops. Vitus now holding off Langley towards the end of this race. Can he hold him off for the last 25 minutes here? And you see here Taylor and Lee going at it. Taylor's now got the job done on Lee. And Aberdeen has now joined the fight. Nuke Waste is involved in this as well. And you see further back that Tucker comes in for his drive-through. One more lap for Varga to take his drive-through. But he's holding up the Lamborghinis as much as he possibly can. And Williams has got ahead of Gabino after all that. So Varga will have to serve his drive-through. So as long as Williams just keeps Gabino behind, that's another position gain. Meanwhile, Langley, once again, onto the back of Vitus. Into the final corner we go. Don't cross the outer limits, boys. And Smith now lets them through. Out comes pit lane Tucker. He'll have to come in and do his pit stop properly. He's now done his drive-through. Abdi, meanwhile, looking to try and make a move on Lee going into the middle sector there. And just behind him is Waste. He's got himself back involved. And Gabino's got the inside of Williams as Williams goes wide through the left-hander. And that's him through another position. Now can they finally clear Varga? He's obviously going to come in and do his drive-through momentarily. We've got Tucker and Betterson in a fight. And just behind them, just behind them is your championship fight between Langley and Vitus. So they've got to be wary that the championship, the leaders are coming through, but they're also in their own little scrap at the same time. Varga now finally comes in to do his drive-through. Betterson gets out of the way of the leaders. Job done for him. And now it is Tucker's turn to get out of the way of Vitus and Langley, and he manages to do so. He goes a little bit wide onto the dirt, and obviously stays ahead of Betterson as well. So job well done from those two to be aware of the leaders. Of Betterson for the nail in the coffin there. Goes up the inside of Tucker, and Tucker now finally comes in to do his stop, as Varga now finally gets his drive-through done. There's still this fight between the top two, 0.3 of a second between them. It just takes one mistake from either one, and it goes advantage to the other driver. Luke Waste now giving Aberdeen something to think about as they go through the chicane into the hairpin. Still an opportunity there. Lee pulling away, and Taylor dropped these guys relatively quickly. Archer still holding off Leach at the minute. Greaves not being able to do anything to him at the minute, and Wolfsky not being able to stick with the pace of those guys, and has dropped down the order. Meanwhile, for a moment, it was 1/10 of a second separating Langley and Vitus, and Langley is close. Langley very, very close to the back of Vitus. Again, more traffic coming their way as Atherton stays to the outside of the circuit. A little bit awkward for those two to go through, but he did signal his indicator to say that he was staying to that side, and now they're catching up to Varga, who's a pretty quick driver, so he could be a little bit of a headache to clear. But Lee really slow through this first sector, and that's going to allow Aberdeen and Waste to get close once again. Again, Gabino onto the back of Fandango. Fandango kind of needs to keep these Lamborghinis behind him at the minute to make sure those championship points go the way of the constructors. And once again, Vitus looking defences in turn one, which is allowing Langley to really put the pressure on him, really make him sweat now. Who is going to come out on top? That's the question, though. It is really close between these two. Langley looks to the inside. Varga's just ahead of him as well, so it's a little bit of compromise run there, and Vitus has to run wide. Varga now jumps straight out of the way. And for a moment there, Langley looked like he had a sniffing opportunity, but decided to back out of it last minute. And again, Lee still defending heavily from Aberdeen and Waste. The Lamborghini still pressurising Fandango as well. And Argent still having to defend from Leach, who's also got really close to the back of the BMW driver. And Argent's made a mistake. He's had a snap of oversteer, and that's going to give the inside to Leach as they now go to the left-hander. And Leach back up into a podium position. Can he make the braking zone? Yes, he does. And Argent, for a moment, was in P3. He's now got Greaves hunting him down. Back to the front. Once again, Vitus trying to break the toe. But Langley, once again, just close enough. And Langley seems to be much, much better through turn one. It gives him a great run through the first sector, which gets him really close to the middle sector. He kind of looked at one kind of good opportunity, which is up to this left-hander. That left-hander seems to be his best opportunity, and Vitus, meanwhile, is able to keep that one covered that time. Leach now, can he pull away from Argent? They got a car up ahead of him to try and lap. I believe that is Williams. And here we go, Aberdeen, a good exit out of the final corner. It's going to go the long way around, but that Audi is relatively quick in a straight line. Down towards turn number 1 we go. Lee, can he just stay ahead of the Audi driver? Is Aberdeen going to try and go all the way around the outside? He's going to give it a good go, though. He's into the marbles. Lee gives him racing room. Slight contact made. Aberdeen's going to stay to the outside. Lee tries to brake later. Is he going to go too deep? No, he's not. And Aberdeen's still to the outside. That's going to be track limits, though, for him. And up the inside, is that going to be Waste? He's now on the attack of the Audi driver. And Aberdeen just holding him off, just pushing him right to the limits there, and Waste cannot get the job done. Meanwhile, once again, Vitas trying to break the toe. Langley right behind him. Oh, and he's gone wide, the 53. That is Atherton. He's got a drive through for track limits. Leach now pulling away from Argent and Greaves. Wolfsky still close to them as Taylor's on his own. Lee in 8th, Aberdeen in 9th, and Waste has dropped into the clutches of Craig now. So this is a fight for your final top 10 position. And Craig not able to capitalise on Waste there, as Fandango still got the 2 Lamborghinis for company behind him. Oh, and Williams makes a slight mistake there. Contact with Gabino, and around they go. And where is Luke Saunders? There he is. So Tucker goes through the 107. That is Wolfsky's got a drive through. Gabino gets going. That's going to not help Cloud9 whatsoever. And Wolfsky have to take that drive through now. The only thing that could possibly save him now is the fact that the 2 Lamborghinis came together. The Team Audio Sport Lamborghini and Gabino, Sam Williams, all together came to blows in the hairpin. And can now Saunders catch those 2 Lamborghinis? Those tyres are going to be very, very hot. But Wolfsky, though, running out of points now for the constructors. Vitas and Langley now seem to be at kind of like a stalemate at the moment. Seem to have found a little bit of a groove between one another. Langley not able to capitalise. He's probably missed his best opportunity, as now Argent dropping further back to Leach, dropping Greaves momentarily. The fights we've got going on. Smith and Betterson going at it for bronze. Best not too far behind them either, so if anything happens between those 2, there's going to be more points gained for him. Wolfsky now into pit lane. Who's he really going to lose out to here? He's going down the main pit lane now. I think he'll only lose out to Taylor, but it's going to be tight. Nonetheless, he's cleared his drive-through, has Atherton, so Phil returns back onto circuit. And here comes Taylor now. So Wolfsky losing a position to SimPlay Racing. But luckily he's going to hold off Lee. So he loses 1 position. So it's not too bad in the end points-wise. And Langley still trying to get Vitas to make a mistake. But it's not happening at this moment in time. A little bit of damage to the front end of Greaves' car. So it's possibly contact between himself and Argent. Not sure. Oh no. Sorry, the front end damage, sorry, it was when he came into pit lane and went into the back of the car in front. Besson and Smith again close to one another, 7/10 of a second separating them. Varga just ahead of him. We've got nearly 8/10 of a second now. Again, Argent starting to bring the gap back down to Leach once again. 13 minutes left of this race. Make sure you hit that like button, guys. It's been a brilliant race for these guys. It's been absolutely fascinating to watch. But it's not done yet. This is for the title. This is important to these 2. The more points they take to Donington, the better. And Vitas needs to outscore Langley. He needs him to maybe make a mistake. He needs the luck to kind of go his way to really take the fight to Donington, as you still got Leach and Argent going at it tooth and nail between those 2. The Lamborghinis once again seem to have sorted themselves out and is pulling away from the BMW driver of Saunders. Oh, Gabino goes off. He spins round, hits the curb a little bit too hard, and around he goes. Your leaders go through, so no worries for those guys. But Langley here is trying to put Vitas under pressure. There is the Lamborghini of Williams just ahead of him. Fandango and Craig further on. So Williams not really going to catch those guys. So Langley now, can he put the pressure on the leader of Vitas? It's been a long and enduring race between these guys. Not had a moment to relax whatsoever in this race. Meanwhile, Waste and Aberdeen are going at it. Aberdeen's gone wide. That's going to give Waste the opportunity to go up the inside. But if Aberdeen keeps his foot pinned around the outside of the chicane, he'll have the inside for the hairpin. He tries to do so, but Waste is able to carry his speed and momentum. The back end looks like it's just stepping out a little bit. But Waste now on the better line once again for the kink, and Aberdeen has to conceive and fall into place. And can Waste do anything about Lee? That is the question. Wolski trying to hunt down Taylor to get that position back and stop that point gap getting any bigger between 4Q Motorsport. Leaders have now lapped Williams relatively easy there. Now Gabino has got Betterson and Smith for company. Gabino's gone wide. Possibly the tyres going off for him after his little spin. Smith having a little bit of a moment. He's dropped further back. That's allowing Best to get a little bit closer. But again, your top two still separated by less than 0.5 of a second. It's been a really interesting fight between those two. And these three have been spectacular all night long as well. They've been relatively close, as has Leach, Argent and Greaves. Greaves been on the podium a few times this season, but I think he might lose out to possibly Argent and Leach here. Leach trying his very best just to keep them behind now. He seems to be ebbing and flowing between Argent and Leach of leading. But we come to the final stage of this race. It is Vitas leading the way ahead of Langley in second. That's the fastest lap. There's Leach in third, ahead of Argent in fourth, Greaves in fifth, Taylor in sixth, ahead of Wolski in seventh. Eighth is Lee, but he's under pressure from Waste in ninth, Aberdeen in 10th. I thought the moment there looked like he was looking to make a move. Craig in 11th with Fandango in 12th, Williams in 13th for Saunders in 14th, Varga 15th, and Gabino in 16th. Betterson now 17th, 18th is Smith, Best is 19th with Williams in 20th, Archer 21st, Tucker has made a mistake. Oh, he stayed out of the way of the leaders in 22nd, Bell in 23rd, Atherton 24th, and Flores with wheel problems in the end back in pit lane. Vitas now going defensive. He knows he's going to be in trouble here and trying to break the toe, moves back to the racing line. Can Langley have a better run through the left-hander? It seems like he has. And Vitas now under pressure, very late down the inside goes Langley, contact made, and around goes Vitas, and Tucker hits the back of him as they come to a complete stop there. So contact made there between the two. And Vitas now continues back in front. And that's just giving damage to other drivers. Meanwhile, Williams is now back under pressure from Saunders. So 8 minutes now to go. And Langley there, it looked like he was going to make an effort, then didn't, then did, and kind of was committed then at that point and made contact. Argent now looking like he's dropping back into the clutches of the Lexus once again. Wolski catching Taylor and Waste now. Is he in a good opportunity to send up the inside of the final corner on Lee? No, he's not. Lee turns in and Waste not able to get past him there. Craig also now onto the back of Aberdeen, so it's all starting to heat up once again to the very end of this race, but your championship contenders have come together. Can Langley regroup and go again? That's the question. Wolski goes a bit wide through turn 2. Also Waste and Lee going at it, 0.2 of a second separating those two. Craig also on the back of Aberdeen. Gabino's on the back of Varga. So there are fights happening right to the very end, and Langley has brought the gap back down to less than 0.8 of a second. So he's coming back, but is he going to run out of time? Has Vitas got damage to the back end of that McLaren? That's the question. It's the fight for P3 then, and can Wolfsky get past Taylor? He's down the inside. Taylor sees him coming last minute, and Wolfsky does get the job done. Caught Taylor out there, and he's back up to where he was originally. Keep an eye on all the fights, because it's going to be happening right to the very end there. It looks like Langley's lost a little bit of momentum here. Taylor, Leach now onto the back of Bell and trying to clear him as quickly as he can. But he ends up on the dirt. Leach goes through. Argent also going to try and clear Bell at the same time. Tips NRL Andy having brake issues, so that's why he's struggling. And here comes Craig and Fandango. So more importantly, this is going to help 4Q Motorsport once again. The Audi driver struggling towards the end. Fandango looking to make another move on Craig. And Aberdeen has to go wide, but Fandango for a moment there looked like he was going to get 2 for 1, but not quite. 0.8 of a second between your top two as we come into the last 5 minutes of this race. Leach pulling away from Argent. Greaves, that seems a little bit secure there, and Taylor dropping off the back of Wolfsky ever so slightly, and Waste I think is losing time as Craig now has got Fandango for company. It's all hotting up right to the very end. And the gap also to the leaders has extended. Vitas to Langley has grown, and I think pretty much their attack is pretty much coming to an end unless something happens towards the end. But Taylor and Wolfsky, they're getting close. Wolfsky gets better exit, and again Waste gets close to Lee, but not really close enough to mount an attack. Here comes Fandango on Craig. This is more points now as well for him if he can clear the McLaren. With Wolfsky back onto the back of Greaves regarding points. Fandango there taking a wide exit out of turn, the final turn. Atherton has now come back out on circuit. So can Fandango get the McLaren to the very end of this race? Further back you see there Vitas has extended the gap to 1.3. It's going to be probably a little bit bigger now as the two McLarens of Lee and Waste are close to one another once again. Clearing the Lexus of Atherton, and through they go. 1.5 now, so Langley really has dropped off the pace. And there, a mistake there from Craig. That's Fandango up the inside. And job done. Another position gain. That's more points in the swing of 4Q Motorsport. Now we see the two McLarens ahead. Lee and Waste still going at it for a titanic fight towards the end. The championships for the drivers is going to go to Donington. It is going to go to the finale between Vitas and Langley. Waste has now finally done Lee, so Lee losing a position there. Can Fandango get Lee to the very end of this race? To the final corner they go. Fandango is close enough. That's more points if he can get him, but he needs to pick up the pace if he can. Leach meanwhile goes a little bit wide through the left-hander. That's going to give Argent a little bit of momentum, and the back end just stepping out on the Porsche. It's struggling right now. Further back, Gabino is onto the back of Varga, and more importantly there is Luke Saunders, so that's going to be more points taken away if these two can get ahead of Saunders. Varga with a better exit, as does Gabino, so they have a great run through there. So it's Fandango on the move on Lee. Saunders is dropping down the pack. And into turn one they go. Can Varga get past Saunders? He has a much better run through turn 1. Is he going to send it through turn 2? No, he can't. He's going to have to stay where he is. Where is Fandango? He's onto the back of Lee now, as Leach has lost out to Argent there, and in the middle of him is Best, and Best ends up being held up by holds up Greaves. The 105, that is Smith. He gets a drive through right at the end of this race, and Argent in the end managing to get Leach right at the very end here, as I think Vitas will start his final lap momentarily. So Leach, I know Leach is coming back up the inside of Argent. Yes, he is. So Leach now back up into the podium position. Can he hold it on to this time round? Argent comes to try to swoop back under, but he can't. Into the left-hander, and Argent holds off for an attack later on. But Leach struggling with the rear end of that car, I think. Meanwhile, Fandango in the slipstream, in the tow, and the straight line advantage of the Lexus. Is this going to work out for him? He wants to score as many points as he possibly can. Down the inside of Lee. He's going to send it. Contact made. Lee goes wide. And Fandango does gain that position. And Lee there has to fall back into position. Nearly hitting the back of Fandango. And that's going to allow Craig to come up the inside. Your leader has started the final lap here. And that is going the way of Vitas. Meanwhile, Leach is ahead of Argent. And Greaves now onto the back of Argent. Fandango gets the move done on Lee, and Lee drops further back. That's more points towards 4Q. Meanwhile, Varga now onto the back of Saunders. This is important for constructors. Varga gets very, very close to the back of Luke Saunders, but can't get the job done. Now Gabino is going to go up the inside of Varga. Varga has a big slide, has a snap. He keeps it together, but he looks like he's going to try and hold on to the inside, but he doesn't. Now Gabino has a slide, and that lets off the hook for Saunders momentarily, as those two are having their own little moment. And Leach still hanging it sideways in the Porsche, trying to hold off the BMW and the Lexus right to the very end here. Through the final few corners we go. Vitas, meanwhile, is in traffic. Langley's dropped right off the pace, but it is going to go the other way in the championship. It is the Chaser going to win this race. He's coming into the final corner now, as long as he don't tangle with the back markers of Atherton and Aberdeen. But out of the final corner comes Vitas, and Vitas is going to come for a race win here. He wins the feature race here, and that is more points towards his way. Langley does take second, brings the gap down, making sure, and then it's only a fastest lap to his name. Is Gary Leach going to get his first podium of the season, or is Argent going to hold or try and stop him from doing so, as Leach now comes into the final corner, and Williams crosses for 13th, as does Saunders, Gabino and Vargas. So Saunders does fight off the attack from those guys. Leach makes a slight mistake on the exit there. It's to the line. Leach though holds on for that P3 ahead of Argent, ahead of Greaves. Wolski now coming through P6, and he's got Taylor just behind him still. So the championship standings is going to be interesting for the constructors, and once they all come together we will see where they are. We'll keep an eye on what the constructors does look like, but it might have to go to Donington for them as well. But Wolski comes out of the final corner, and to take a P6 for him ahead of Taylor in P7. Solid points for SimPlay Racing tonight, as Nuke Waste going to hold off Fandango for P8. And it's important that Fandango did get into the top 10. To the line comes Nuke Waste. In P9 will go Fandango, P10 will be Craig, P11 will be Lee. Aberdeen will round off the grid ahead of Williams, ahead of Saunders, ahead of Cabino, Varga, Bettison, Best, Smith, Williams, Archer, Tucker, Bell, Atherton and Flores didn't finish the race due to pedal issues, and Aberdeen in the end managing to make it to 12th after suffering with pedal problems himself. We'll be back momentarily, as we will have some interviews in a moment's time, but we will go back Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the stream, and we have got a couple of drivers in the chat with us. Hopefully we should be able to hear them momentarily. We will start with Gary Leach, who haven't spoken in the comments box for a while, but Gary, you finally done it, got yourself on the podium in the Porsche. How does it feel, mate? Looked like a really tricky night with yourself and Argent going at it this evening.
A little bit, didn't quite work out. He made a mistake after the pits. I managed to get past, and the last 5 or 6 laps my tyres were like I was driving on ice, but still good points and enjoyed a night's racing.
How was the Porsche around here? It did seem like a bit of a handful a little bit later on, and obviously with the warm conditions as well, it must have been right on the very edge. Did you take tyres as well in the pit stop?
Yeah, I took tyres, thank God I did, because, well, as you know, I was on the edge from word go, yet alone 30 minutes into a race. But, yeah, it's always good fun to drive, and wherever you are on the grid, so it's all good fun.
It is indeed. You're a man who loves a good scrap, no matter what positions they are. You'd love a good fight nonetheless. We seem to be in a little bit of a running form back in the Porsche. We head to Donington next, a British circuit, and we obviously, in SimPlay history, we know how you get on at British circuits. Final race of the season as well. What's the plans, and have you enjoyed this season? Obviously been off here and there. I think we had a golf tournament earlier on as well, which wasn't able to do most of the Pro-Am Championship, and obviously the Ginettas Pro. How's the season been, and have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, always enjoy it. Close racing with most of the drivers, which is good fun. And like I said, I just don't have the time that I used to put into setting the car up to make it handle how I want to, but a few tweaks after the first race always improves for the second. Yeah, Donny next week, love it. I've seen the weather as well, it looks fairly interesting, so yeah, gloves off and let's have some good racing.
Well, congratulations on the P3, mate, and a solid job tonight.
Cheers, mate, and well done, boys. Top 9.
We do have Best in the chat, and he's been wanting to have an interview all season, so I'll give him one tonight. Even though he didn't finish in the top 3, he did win the bronze class. Bestie, obviously you guys at the bronze will struggle to get to the front, but either way, it was a close fight between yourself, Smith, and Betterson all night long. All 3 of you in the Ferraris. Looked like you had a good little scrap tonight.
Yeah, we kept obviously dropping a bit of time to close up in one lap with some else to drop it. Towards the end, we couldn't close the gap on Rob. Tyres played a good thing. Lime green was my new favourite colour. And then unfortunately Rob got the drive through, which obviously back from the race. But the sprint again, you know, finished 7th, first podium to bronze, and good outing for the bronze tonight, I think.
Yeah, obviously you took the win in the sprint race for them, and obviously you then took the good points position again as well, and Langley taking the win as well. So overall, Quantum scoring some decent points. Were you struggling with the hot conditions as well? Did you take tyres also?
Yeah, I've around about the halfway point. Tyres got very hot, especially the front right, so dropping the pressures down halfway through the race, ready for the next set. But yeah, it was a bit understeery with the Ferraris, and the tyres didn't really come back. So yeah, I think we all felt that. I saw Smith and Betterson sliding around a bit as well, so I think it was a general temperature thing for all of us.
Obviously going to Donington for the final time, obviously yourself and Langley haven't really been able to have a kind of like a long run racing this season, but you go to Donington for the final race. How are you going to get on there?
We're feeling very confident. Obviously you see it synced up quite well tonight. We finally got some time together, so yeah, feeling super positive, and obviously Langley to try and bring it home next week as well. That's the main thing.
Well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on a good night's worth of racing, and we'll catch you at Donington.
All the best, thank you.
And we now move to your main man in the championship. It is Langley. And Langley, tonight was a kind of a mix of emotions. The sprint race was a great race for yourself. You're scoring decent points in that. You took obviously the win, and you took the fastest lap as well. So it was solid points for that. And then into race 2, you lost out on the pole momentarily to Avitas. You then gave him a hard night's worth of racing, pretty much within each other, the whole race within a second, which was crazy to watch. But nonetheless, you've got to be relatively happy leaving here with relatively good points on your side. Just sum up your night, mate. It seems like a really hard work night's worth of racing.
I mean, yeah, when everything's said and done, I still gained 2 points tonight, so anything helps. Sprint was good. I tried to take it easier than I usually do, and there's still a pile up. Luckily, I just tapped someone, I mean, ever so lightly, only got tenths worth of damage, so it barely affected me. Yeah, and then I was gonna pit first lap, and then I saw Vitas pit, and there was about a 5-second gap ahead of him when he pitted, so I decided to just use that clean air to push into it, and then pitted next lap, and I mean literally barely came out ahead of him. Probably the most adrenaline I've had all season, that race. I mean, it was good fun though, putting pressure on me, and yeah, the feature race, I stuck to my strategy, probably went 1 lap too long. I feel like if I pitted 1 lap earlier, I would have had him. I heard that he had a rough pit stop and was in traffic. So I probably should have pitted a lap earlier, because when I came out, I mean, I was definitely quicker than him with the tire offset, and then, but I think the McLaren is just slightly better on its tires over the long run, so that tire advantage kind of went away, and then just, if I was going to make that move, I needed to brake way later, and it was just half-hearted, and I'm just glad it didn't affect the outcome. Even if I do get a penalty, I'm pretty far ahead of 3rd place, luckily. So don't think I'll lose points. And definitely not enough for quali ban. Luckily, it didn't affect the outcome for Vitas. I didn't want to park it on the apex, but I had nowhere to go. Luckily, I don't think he got all but like maybe 1 or 2 seconds of damage from that. But I was happy with my strategy. Just 1 lap too long, but that's hindsight. But all said and done, still gained 2 points, and I'll focus on next week.
Yeah, next week is then the goal. Obviously, we'll have a quick chat, obviously, about this race. How was the car? Again, really hot temperatures here. It's going to be even hotter for the pros tomorrow night. 39 degrees in the end for the track temperature. Again, does it seem to be the running theme? It sounded like everyone took tyres, and the gap as well. It just looked like the correct decision. Did you take tyres in the end?
Yeah, I did. I know you won't take tyres, Dan. I know you too well.
I mean, I'm debating it.
That's a shock, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, midway through the first stint, especially trying to follow, I did say last night in Genettas, it feels easier to follow because once you get clean air, it's a kind of a single line circuit that you have to take, so it's easy to make a mistake, and as the car behind you can just kind of capitalize on that mistake. So props to Vitas for not doing that all night. But yeah, Basti was struggling with understeer. I was struggling with sliding, especially in the middle sector with the long corners, but you kind of need rotation in those corners to get the lap time out the car. But I felt like I was so much faster than Vitas, especially through turn 1 all night, and I just could not. The one time where I was ahead of him, I went off the track, so I prefer not to overtake him like that. But yeah, tires were definitely a struggle for me. I mean, like almost 0.05 wear per lap, some laps. That's why I even in quali decided to do 2 split runs to just use 2 sets of tires. I never really got clean air, but Vitas definitely had way more quali pace than me tonight. Yeah, I mean, it was just managing from then on with the tires. I mean, everyone had to deal with it. I could tell Vitas was struggling with it too, right in front of me in the first stint. Definitely, it was starting to go off, and everyone was sliding out there understeering wide, especially on a track that kind of promotes understeer on some corner exits, just the profile of the corners. But it was all good fun. I mean, I like when I'm pushed to my limit, so it was very fun tonight.
Well, the next round of the season is the most important one. It is the finale. We are heading to the home of SimPlay Motorsport, which is Donington Park, for an evening race as well. From what I've heard, the rumours, the weather is not looking fabulous, let's just put it that way. But it's down to you and Vitus now. It is no one else for the title. It's going down to the wire. How are you feeling going in there, and what's the plan? Obviously, you don't have to give everything away because Vitus might be taking notes, but how's your mindset going into the finale?
Honestly, sprint's the big kicker for me. I just want to keep my nose clean. I know if I keep my nose clean, I can be top 10, top 5 really easily in the sprint race, and I think if I do that, if I get a top 5 in the sprint, I'll have a lot less pressure in the feature, depending on how many drivers there are.
Yeah.
Because I'll only need a certain amount of points, but I'm just happy to pick off a couple points tonight since I've been losing points in the sprint recently. Glad to turn that around. I mean, it's fun battling him too. He's very clean, very calculated, doesn't do anything too risky. It was fun battling Vitas all night, and I'm looking forward to it next weekend. Gonna be hard to overtake though.
Well, it's 44 points between you going into the final race. It's all still to play for. But nonetheless, mate, congratulations on the win and the second place tonight. And to yourself and Vitus, if he's listening, best of luck to the pair of you going into the finale.
Yep, thank you. Congrats on the podium, Gary, and great job, Bestie, on the Class 1.
And that is it for the interviews. And momentarily, while I kind of sort my comments box out a minute, regarding the constructors, obviously penalties are still yet to be applied. So obviously the drivers have 24 hours pretty much to put in any tickets they want to. But at this moment in time, 4Q Motorsport are the constructors champions provisionally after penalties have been applied. So until the penalties have come through, we'll have to confirm that come Donington next week. But at the minute, it's looking like 4Q Motorsport will be the constructors champions. And I said, once we get the penalties done and out of the way, then we can confirm or deny if they are champions. But that is it for Valencia for the Pro-Am boys. One more night to go for the pros. They'll be hitting the circuit, as well as the fight goes to Rook, Davis and O'Reilly. Can O'Reilly get his first pro title? Can Ben get his first title? Or can I give him a bit of a headache? Team Autosport looking good to try and take the title for the constructors as well. But the main fight for the Pro-Ams, it is Langley versus Vitus going to the final. It is going to be intense. It is going to be close. And with the way the weather's looking at the minute, it is going to be an absolute storm. I've been Dan Davis, this has been SimPlay Motorsport, and we will see you all tomorrow night for the pros. But for the Pro-Ams, we head to Donington for the finale. Good night.